Welcome to the pod. It's firing season. Jimbo Fisher out at Texas A&M. The man most paid $45 million approximately to coach the Aggies the last 6 years. He's about to get a $77 or so million buyout. That's $122 million. He won, was it 45 games?
Yep.
45
games. And 25.
2.7 million per win.
Good gig if you can get it. There you go.
Guardrails.
Yeah. Can't let the players be having any money.
Guardrails.
Let it be known that it took Dan the quickest in the history of the pod to get to guardrails in this pod, about 15 seconds.
I don't think we need any guardrails. Good for Jimbo and good for A&M. Now, I don't know how the hell you get fired after winning 51-10. I mean, they cooked Mississippi State 51-10, and then they're going in against Abilene Christian, and you're going to win that. And then you got a game against LSU that's not, like they didn't want to keep him, so they had to fire him now before he won out.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's how much they didn't want him.
It reminds me of what happened at LSU a few times, but specifically Ed Orgeron got fired at LSU after a win against Florida. The decision was made before the game started, really, and this is the same situation, right? Thursday, leading into that game, the Texas A&M Board of Regents had a meeting Thursday, an executive session, and basically made the decision then. And then they coached in the game and won by 41 points. College sports.
It's not easy to do.
Not only that, Boise State is firing Andy Avalos and doing so after he won a game by 28 points. So,
it's tough out there. I feel for Jimbo. Doesn't he have two ranches? Didn't he say that? I have two ranches.
Yeah.
He does. He has
so much.
And, that's what alerted some of the staff last night after the game. I think after they beat Mississippi State, there was a lot of recruits in town. And he didn't really meet with a lot of recruits. He said he was just taking off to the ranch, and I think all the staff were like, "Wait, what's going on?" And it was pretty obvious that he knew it was coming and was just kind of like blowing out of there.
Hang out at you can go back and forth in the ranch. You can put $60 million at one ranch, 60 at the other.
Buy a lot of hay bales or whatever you needed.
Highlights of the Jimbo Fisher era, according to this podcast. The Christmas tree in Tallahassee that he discarded that suggested he was moving.
Yep.
His Christmas tree before Christmas was already on the curb at his home in Tallahassee, which suggested he wasn't going to be there for Christmas. That was like, there's a lot of ways news breaks. That was the first known Christmas tree.
Sources being the Christmas tree.
Christmas tree. There was the 9-1 season in 2020 that somehow earned him a second impossibly rich contract. They actually were good that year.
They were.
His nephew punching LSU's assistant coach Steve Cragthorpe in the pacemaker.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Falk getting involved. I would not want to fight Kevin Falk. I give Jimbo's nephew some credit for standing in on that one. Accusing Nick Saban of cheating after Nick said he bought a recruiting class, which he did, which was
calling him a narcissist. That's amazing. That's a highlight of the whole career.
and saying any media could dig up incredible amounts of cheating because Nick Saban's a fraud.
You have to go look at how God did his business. Go look at how God does his business.
Integrity. There's integrity in college football, I was told by the Big Ten commissioner.
Yeah.
And then getting fired after winning 51-10. I think it's a
fitting capper.
Wasn't really the most successful run, but it sure was entertaining.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Pat, thoughts on Jimbo? What's next at A&M and all that? I have my preferred list of candidates. I'll tell you later, but what's up? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a little sad that Bobby Petrino isn't the interim coach, but just to kind of complete the dysfunction Sunday down there. But I mean, The contract was the worst in the history of college football. The buyout was by far the biggest. The contract was inexcusable. The extension after 2020, and yes, they were 9-1 in 2020, and they were good, no doubt about it. They didn't make the playoff. They lost to Alabama by 4 touchdowns that season. You give the guy the richest, most airtight contract ever after you lose to a division rival by 4 touchdowns. Okay,
and then extend it.
Where was he going?
Yeah, where
LSU was the thought after heading into 2021. The thought was Ed Orgeron was going to be fired, and Scott Woodward was going to go after the guy he hired at A&M, and that was A&M was trying to get ahead of that. So entering the 21 season, they extended that. Remember, they extended the contract back out to 10 years. And I think gave him a little bump maybe in salary, but it was mainly because it was mainly extending it 3 more years. It's crazy.
LSU also made Mel Tucker got that contract because of LSU.
Yeah, LSU made a lot of people rich.
Yeah.
I think they helped James Franklin, didn't they?
Yeah, that was more USC. If LSU would like to say they want to hire me, I'm willing to have that rumor floated.
What if Yahoo would let you walk?
Yeah, I'm a valued employee here.
But yeah, so as soon as he gets that contract extension in 2021, he then turns around, beats Kent State, barely beats a terrible Colorado team, beats New Mexico, and then proceeds to lose his first 2 SEC games to Arkansas and Mississippi State. I mean, like, the die was cast right then and there. It was like, if they didn't have buyer's remorse at that point, then they're stupid. But, I guess the bottom line is that if you have silly money, given the price of oil, I mean, we've seen what A&M is doing. I mean, we saw what SMU buy its way into the ACC with essentially oil money. Then fiscal sanity doesn't make any sense. I mean, you don't even worry about it. You just say, we're ridiculous down here. So what? But the point Dan made a few podcasts ago resonates even more now is this really a great job, or is it just theoretically a great job? Because nobody's really ever gotten it done there. You win more than you lose, but you don't win championships. And so, I mean, you can take the job and get rich as hell, but you're eventually probably going to get fired because you don't win enough to beat Alabama and beat Georgia and beat anybody else you need to beat, LSU.
It is weird. It's been one of the A&M is one of those places where they have the resources, they have all these incredible facilities that they recently made even better. They've got, they were ahead out in front of everybody on the NIL, as we discussed, a couple of years ago, signed the number 1 ranked recruiting class. They're in a state that loves freaking football. They've got so many donors. I was looking back at the donations that Texas A&M reported over the last 8 years or so. I mean, they're generating $60 to $80 million a year in donations alone to the athletic department. They seem to have it all, but they just can't get over the hump there. And I think that you're going to see them go after the biggest, probably highest paid coaches in college football right now. The Lane Kiffins, the Dan Lannings, Mike Elko of Duke was there, in the past, Mike Norvell, and then there's Jeff Traylor at UTSA. We just posted a story with listing those 5 candidates, just kind of presuming that they would be those who A&M would go after. And but you're right, a lot of people might say, don't go there. It's a kind of a graveyard. Nobody's been able to do it there, so why go there? But the resources, I'm sure, are going to be tempting for somebody.
I don't know. I know everyone's laughing. Hey, you blew $77 million. I mean, look, they got the money. This some West Texas oil man wants to drop it. This is what he was going to spend in his 3rd divorce anyway. So I might as well just do it with Jimbo. They will do everything to win. Everything. Their facilities, we've all been there. Fantastic. The stadium, fantastic. The any support staff, resources. They will look at the this NIL thing. All these other schools are like, well, I'm not so sure I'm comfortable with this. Let's wade into it. Not them.
No.
A&M's like, screw this. They're never gonna enforce these rules. Let's go all in, number one recruiting class. That's what everyone should have been doing 2 years ago, right? They will pay a coach, and then they'll realize they made a mistake and not sit there and go, well, we're just going to handcuff the program for 2 more years as we go 8-4. We'll fire a guy after 51-10. They went and got a national like A&M will do anything to win and everything to win. I don't know that there's a program more committed to winning than Texas A&M. I don't know if you could be more committed. This is the definition of commitment. We got a pretty good guy, but he ain't good enough.
Yeah, and we're going to pay him $75 million to go away.
Don't care. We'll pay the next guy more. So I applaud A&M for that. Actually, I'm like, hey, you know what? You made it's a bad idea to extend that contract. It was probably a bad idea to hire him, but you tried, and it's not my money. So I applaud him for saying, I see all these things. Oh, you know how many public school teachers could be paid? Okay, whatever. It's not comparable. The Aggies want to win, and they're trying everything they can to win. And look, at the end of the day, what's more important than all the resources in the world is the right coach. And they just need that right coach. And I don't know who that person is, but 8-4 and 5-6, they was going to go 8 since that 2020 year. He was 8-4, 5-7. He's 6-4 now. He's going to get to 7-4. And then the LSU game is, who knows? Maybe you win it, maybe you don't. But that just isn't good enough. I don't know. I don't know what you got to do. It's only getting harder, though, because you're no longer the SEC calling card in the state of Texas.
Right.
Texas is in the SEC now. And Oklahoma's in the SEC now. And they recruit, especially the Metroplex, extremely hard. So it's a little more crowded. You had this 10-year head start or 12-year head start on everybody in the SEC, and it didn't work. The most impactful player you got was a 3-star out of Kerrville, Texas, who, got everything exciting, and then they haven't been able to capitalize on it. So I don't know. I don't know what Texas A&M. Who? My 3 candidates. I want content. I want Belichick, number 1.
Belichick?
Yeah. Belichick in college would be fantastic.
Damn.
Dude, they just scored 6 points. He benched Mac Jones with 1 minute and 52 seconds left in the game. He was so sick of watching Mac Jones, as was anybody just watching the game. I don't even work for the Patriots, and I was like, God, I can't watch Mac Jones play another snap, and neither could Bill. So he spared us that and put Bailey Zappi, and they lost anyway. If not Belichick.
Shocking.
I probably not going to happen.
Probably not. I'm going to say.
Get me Urban Meyer.
Oh, my God.
Urban doesn't want to coach. 15 million?
Yeah.
20 million? Can we get this done, Pat?
I mean, try. Urban, I have long called him my favorite narcissist. I'm sure he would love to be talked to be wooed, to be sought after again. I'm sure he believes he could win, and he might be right. Putting him in the same division with Nick Saban, even though Saban's near the end, would sure be fascinating. And Brian Kelly, I mean, holy moly.
Imagine.
That. Why not? Go talk to him. Sure. You need the core of cadets to actually be ready to keep him away from the co-eds and everything, But
oh boy.
Just remember, there was
Pat went there.
Pat
went
there
there.
was, the under center sequence in
under center sequence. Oh boy. Well, yeah. I don't know. What do you think we could get Urban? I know he's probably not going to be the guy, but if you're literally saying I'll take it, I got to get the best guy. That's the best guy.
Yeah. If he's, it is, but you have to be assured that he's all in. He's not going to melt down the first time he loses a game. He's not going to need a leave of absence. He's not going to retire and unretire. He's not going to, need, a mental intervention or whatever. But in terms of track record, sure.
Ross, what do you got?
I don't have much. Okay. I'll let
good talk.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look,
it's been a long morning, Dan. Damn it.
I know it has. It's been a long week. Anyway, I don't know. I know they're probably not going to get Urban Meyer. There's a million names. There's going to be people who want the job. Like I said, hey, if you're going to really do this, then do it. And if I'm a Texas A&M fan, I'm not embarrassed by this at all. I'm like, that's right. This is what we do.
As long as it's somebody else's money.
Yeah. I mean, people got money. This is what they want to spend it on. Spend it, I guess,
I will say, I think the Pacific Northwest coaches are going to be in demand, and it's going to be incumbent upon Washington and Oregon to demonstrate their commitment to them.
In Oregon State?
Yeah, sure. Jonathan Smith, Kalen DeBoer, Dan Lanning. Yeah. Those guys are positioned to get paid big time by somebody, maybe to stay where they are or maybe to go elsewhere. And I would say, just in case Harbaugh pulls the ripcord at Michigan, they could be in play there too.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Michigan, they go get the biggest win of the weekend, 24-15 over Penn State. We've discussed the legal affairs and everything else with Harbaugh ad nauseum. If you want to go back and listen, Pat and I did an emergency pod, so we don't need to delve into that stuff anymore. But it was a big game. There was obviously emotion of the players and the staff and all that. Some of it was, it's not like Harbaugh's like in a hospital bed fighting for his life. He was a little.
It did sound like that, though. Maybe he passed.
I mean,
it's like, okay, he's back at the hotel eating chicken wings.
Yeah, right. Milk and steak. And
milk and steak. Yeah, right. I don't know, but that's all right. Sharon Moore added the FCC to the list of governing bodies investigating Michigan with his. Oh boy. It
was quite the post-game scene there.
Yeah. So you were there, Ross. What your thoughts on the whole scene, and then we'll get into what Michigan actually playing a team with a pulse means. But just the whole thing. What do you think?
It was a great atmosphere there in Beaver Stadium, and it was a close game for better part of 3 quarters, but it never really felt close. And that's what it's like playing Michigan. Even though the score is close, it doesn't feel close because, when they lead by 4, it feels like they're leading by 14. When they lead by 8, it feels like they're leading by 18 because defensively they are so sound, so solid. In offensively, they just grind you and hold the ball for so long. And I think the game basically was over in a way when coming out of the halftime, Drew Aller had that fumble, lost that fumble on the opening drive of the third quarter. Michigan kept the ball for like 7 minutes and slowly drove down the field and scored. And that just felt like the game changer. I was not awed by Michigan. They're not the snazzy kind of pass happy team. They're not the great teams that we see in this era of college sports. The teams like Washington, the teams like maybe even Oregon and in Texas and for the last few years, Alabama and Ohio State. This team is different. It's like you turn back the clock, right? You get nostalgic almost watching this team because they are so fundamentally sound and they just like block. I wrote it. They block and tackle you to hell. That's what it just feels like. They just pound you, man. And it's going to be, looking around the country, like after this past weekend, it feels evident to me that we're going to see Georgia or Alabama play Michigan in a championship game. And how exciting would that be?
Be quite exciting. Bring it on. I would sign up for that right now. And I agree with you that we seem to be heading that direction. But yeah, the post game scene was it was so hilariously melodramatic. I could not believe it. I mean, this is actually Michael Weinreb, who's a very good sports writer. Tweeted, somebody tweeted the video of Sharon Moore, weeping and cussing and declaring his love for Jim Harbaugh. And Weinreb said, "I truly, honestly can't believe this is real." I tweeted back at him, "The most melodramatic team ever," because if you remember, they were like doing tributes to Harbaugh when he was suspended the first time by the school.
Yeah, free Harbaugh
this season.
They said free Harbaugh. I was like, you guys did it to yourself.
Yeah, right.
Self-imposed.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
JJ had the free Harbaugh. Like, go talk to Ward Manuel. He's your AD.
And they did the play to start the game. Remember, they lined up.
They did the centipede formation.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's like, oh my God. And now this takes it to the next level. I said, most melodramatic team ever. Weinreb back. I mean, it's like a Will Ferrell movie. And it really does seem like it. Like, if you want to spoof a sports melodrama, this is a spoof, except it's real. It's unbelievable. So I was not moved to tears by the whole thing, but I was vastly entertained by the extent to which Michigan felt this one. So, but
look, the most powerful emotion in sports is us against the world,
of course.
And so, like, what was it? Georgia last year was because didn't somebody once not vote them number one unanimous the whole year, right?
Yeah,
like you have to invent it. And I believe that the players are all like, listen, man, this ain't our thing. Like, I don't even know what's going on, all that. So I get it. I would do the same thing, but if you're not a Michigan player or coach, it's sort of like, isn't he suspended for like this outrageous rule violation? Like, I've made my point clear. I think the Big Ten overstepped and rushed in and shouldn't have done it for precedent's sake, but it like still happened. Like, but anyway, that you always are looking for that, and they got it. So they're all about their Michigan versus everybody. And if I'm a coach, I'm laying in on it and hoping that it helps. 32 straight rushes in the second half. They threw the ball once. It was a PI, so it didn't count.
Yeah. We were in the press box, and I think it was at around like 11 or 12. I'm like, I kind of looked over. Ralph Russo and the AP was sitting to my left. I'm like, Ralph, I think they've run it 12 straight times dating back to the second quarter. He's like, really? Like, yeah, let me go back. And we started counting from then on, and lo and behold, they ran it 20 more times straight to end the game. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy threw that pass, and it was defensive pass interference, which, of course, counts as no play. But it was indicative, that note right there, right, was, well, first of all, you just almost never see that in this era of college football. That's just so incredibly rare. And it's an indicative of Michigan, and a lot of those runs came from Blake Corum, who after the game looked like he had just went through an 8-round title bout in the ring. He's had a gash between the eyes, a couple of gashes under his left eye. And we asked him, when did this happen? What happened? And he's like, I don't know when. It kind of was all day. I'm like, oh, okay. So he got beat up pretty good. But again, all indicative of this team, man. They are physical and physically grinding and just wear you out.
Yeah, that like, if you want to be moved to tears, like Harbaugh might have been moved to tears by 32 straight runs because he would just love that, because Bo would have loved that. And like that's service academy stuff, 32 straight runs. So, but yeah, the Blake Corum, not to get into minutia here, but like football, if you get busted up in the bridge, above the bridge of your nose or right between your eyebrows or whatever, it's not going to heal. Like, it's going to be the rest of the season, where the first time you get hit and your helmet comes down on that, it's going to break open and bleed again. So you remember there was John Ritchie, was a fullback in the NFL, and I think he had that situation where like every game he's just face bloody because the same thing.
So, Corum likes it. Corum likes it. He's like a Diaz brother at UFC. Fight ain't on until I start bleeding. I watched the game. Pat, you and I were at the Ohio State Penn State game. Ross at this one. Like, it was very similar to the Ohio State game. if I'm Ohio State, I'm looking at that saying, okay, we got a shot. Michigan is a very good football team, but the eye test that they were kind of relying on because they're beating up bad teams. We'll see. Now, that Penn State defense is very good. The thing I really like, but I think if you're Ohio State, you're like, or Georgia or any of these are going, all right, we can beat them. We might not. It's going to be a tough game. Nothing against it. But they didn't just come out there and crack Penn State around. I thought they completely controlled. What I like about the Michigan team when you're watching them, they don't beat themselves. This is a very well-coached team, regardless of what makes them great is not stolen signs. It's how fundamentally sound, how they do not beat themselves, how strong they are in practice. Every guy is playing very well. They didn't have the turnovers, right? They had the discipline that their interim head coach would sit there and say, hey, I'm going to run it 32 straight times because we're just going to win the game. We're just leaning on you and we're going to win the game and I'm not going to panic. That tells me a great deal of like confidence and discipline inside the program. And it's every play made. So that's what I liked about that Michigan team. It's certainly not one where you're going, if you're in Athens looking at that going, oh my God, what are we going to do here? Their wide receivers aren't elite. They, JJ didn't, and maybe he can win them a game, but they didn't even try. It'd be 3rd and 8 and they'd run the ball. So they won the game. That's all that matters. And I think like Ross said, it never felt like Penn State was going to do anything. Let me get to Penn. Let's flip it. Unless you guys got anything else, let's flip it to Penn State.
Just real quick on Michigan. Yeah. Like they don't have the explosiveness that Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State all have. But here's what they have. They have had 1 turnover since September 16th.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. 1 fumble they lost against Purdue. Otherwise, 0 turnovers since then. That will have you in every game, and that will have you win a lot of games.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to a break, and then we'll talk Penn State and others. Penn State, 6-14 now against Ohio State and Michigan for James Franklin. We can go through all different rankings. This is another missed opportunity. They're a really, really good football program. Very good players. They produce incredible pros. They got a great scene there, the whole thing. They just aren't. I think Franklin said we lost to number 1 and number 3, and that isn't good enough. It isn't, but it's tough. It's hard to beat Michigan, and it's hard to beat Ohio State. But at some point, I don't know. What do we? Where are we with this? And is that acceptable? Not. I don't know what to make of James Franklin's Penn State team. I can't really criticize it because all but about 6 programs would love to be them. But here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I think the problem, and we've seen this, sometimes you're tired of watching the same thing happen. Even if your team is good and you're winning 10 games a year, you're tired of seeing the teams you cannot beat. And this particular Penn State team, one of the reasons people were so excited about it was they were going to have the splash play offensive capability because they had Drew Aller, who was going to be their best quarterback in quite a while. They had running backs that were good, and their offense stinks in terms of big plays. I mean, forget playing just against Ohio State and Michigan. They have 2 plays this year of 40 yards or longer, tied for last in the nation with Minnesota. Their receivers can't separate. Their quarterback can't hit them. Their line can't protect them, and their running backs don't break away. So from that standpoint, there's just a problem. There's a disconnect. There's issues there. This is a 5-star quarterback, Drew Aller, who much was expected, and he's been okay at protecting the ball. That's about it. He doesn't make big plays. He seemed overmatched by the 2 elite defenses they've played against. Their play calling seems overmatched. Like they looked in the 4th quarter like they had no idea what to do. They didn't know what to call. They didn't know how to execute it. I mean, they looked completely lost and defeated offensively.
There were a couple plays in those games. I mean, there's obviously a lot of differences between the 2 teams, Michigan and Penn State, but I think that there were a couple plays in the game, I feel like, where I think us in the press box were like, well, there's the difference right there. And there were 2 plays made by J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. One of them was a scramble. he rolled, he eluded a defender and ran for like 25 yards to convert like a third down. And we just didn't see Drew Allard do that, right? And then the other was just a beautifully thrown pass by early in the second quarter by JJ to set up a touchdown. And just a couple of quarterback plays I feel like were kind of the difference. Like Penn State just didn't have that. In Michigan had it when you needed it.
Yeah, it's back to the drawing board. I maybe Drew Allard becomes an elite quarterback. He isn't there yet. There was a couple big plays. He just threw it behind guys.
Yeah. 3 plays that in particular he had receivers open and threw it behind him.
Yeah. And so it's like, Michigan's defense is very good. That Will Johnson is
yeah, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Penn State does. So keep trying. Keep trying and keep going. I don't know really what else to say. It's got to be very frustrating to be a Penn State fan, because I think you're right, Pat. It's like we have a lot of fun, but then we know we're not beating these guys.
Yeah. And
it's almost like everybody else in the Big Ten sometimes feels that way. It's like, oh, this is fun, but eventually Ohio State comes to town and we lose, and it's a tough spot for Penn State to be in.
Right. There are only minor deliverances that they should be able to get to a point where they're not playing, starting next year, playing Ohio State and Michigan both every year.
Yeah.
Right.
And the playoff makes it a little easier
to
come up with something, but it hasn't happened. All right. Georgia Bulldogs, total show of force. 52-17 over number 9 Ole Miss. 611 yards of offense. 300 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Carson Beck looked excellent. Dogs have entered the chat for real. They got Tennessee still. They get Georgia Tech, and then they would play Alabama in the SEC title game. But this looks like the number 1 team in the country. I don't know what the playoff committee will do, but this looked. If I'm picking someone to win a national title this year, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Pat, you probably watched more of that game than Ross. He was driving back. So what do you think?
Right. Yep. Watched it all, and wow. Yeah. I mean, it is what they have done this year when they have felt threatened or challenged. I mean, they played, this is 4 games against teams that people thought had a chance against them. They beat Kentucky 51-13. They beat Florida 43-20. The only one that was even close was Missouri. They beat Missouri 30-21. And the more you see of Missouri, the more you know why, because Missouri's pretty darn good. But this was a ragdolling of a team that was ranked in the top 10. And yeah, the Georgia offense has just gotten better and better and better as this season's gone along. And now that they're getting Brock Bowers back, they're going to continue probably to get better. So Carson Beck, they have taken the training wheels off of him. They're letting him throw further downfield. His receivers are healthier and making plays, and they can certainly run the ball. You can usually count on that with a Kirby team because they're physical at the line of scrimmage and because they got good backs. And so now they're rolling, and defensively, that's another thing. Set your clock on Georgia being good on defense. So they are an extremely good team, and yes, they go back to number 1 in my book and stay there until somebody beats them.
You're right, Dan. I was coming down off of the Alleghenies, but I was listening to the game on the radio a little bit. The evolution of Carson Beck in Georgia's offense over the course of this season's been really interesting to watch, and it's almost like kind of indicative of the evolution of Pat's boy. In my name, I'm blanking on his name. The former Georgia quarterback who Pat wrote about.
Stetson.
Quite a
law
bit.
firm.
I don't know why. The law firm. How I forgot that.
Law firm with Stetson
But
Bennett.
Stetson, over the course of his career, and especially his last year, over the course of that season, right, Georgia became he kind of became this went from kind of game manager to this guy who could put up 300-yard passing games. And it feels like that's what's happening, that Kirby's given Carson a little more room to do things. 18 completions from him for 306 yards. So he was throwing some bombs, and obviously receivers were doing some run after catches. And how about this stat? Kendall Milton, running back, 9 rushes, 127 yards, 14 yards a pop. So something that should be mentioned probably is that, Ole Miss's defense this year has struggled a good bit. We should all keep that in mind, probably.
Yeah, they're not a great defense, but that they got just gashed.
Pat, you mentioned Missouri, 36-7 over Tennessee. Just quickly, this team's good. It's a good football team. I put something out there. I tweeted, this is what the 12-team playoff is going to serve, like a Missouri team getting into a playoff, a huge moment for like that program, and instead of just kind of finishing 10-2, and it's a nice season.
Be like a 10 seed, 9 seed, yeah.
Yeah, maybe even somehow you host. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
They have that loss to LSU, and they got the loss to Georgia, but they're having a great season there. Eli Drinkwitz, they were 17-19 after 3 seasons, and boom, here they go. They could absolutely get to 10-2.
Yeah, Drink is off the hot seat, that's for sure.
Mm.
I mean, they've had a great season, and yes, you watch them; they are a complete team. They're not Georgia or Alabama, but they have no real weaknesses. There's nothing glaring. You look at them and say, "Oh, they can't do." I mean, they've got this running back, Cody Schrader, who's just unbelievable. He's leading the SEC in rushing. He played at Truman State for his first 3 years of his career, and then transferred, or maybe it was 4 even. Brady Cook has played extremely well, quarterback. Luther Burden is a big-time receiver. So's Theo Weiss. And then defensively, they've got dudes. They get in the backfield. They make plays. Their secondary is good. So, I mean, they have rounded into a full and complete team, and they are 3rd or 4th best in the SEC, behind Georgia, Alabama, and then probably there with LSU. I guess you'd put LSU ahead of them because they won in Columbia. But they have had an excellent season.
Yeah, it's I think we talked about it earlier. Man, like entering the year, Eli, I feel like, and Neil Brown, as far as Power 5 jobs felt like 2 of the most kind of hottest seats in. Man, both of them have obviously had good years, but I mean, Missouri is in the end, right? Missouri might be finish a top 10 team. Pretty incredible what they've done this year, and they do. They seem like a pretty balanced team. Brady Cook at quarterbacks put up some incredible numbers. That was a big game. We did talk earlier, to go back to the playoff expansion discussion. We talked earlier in the week about the Missouri-Tennessee game. If you look forward to a year where you have a 12-team playoff, and by the way, that 12-team playoff format is changing. More news that happened earlier this week was on Thursday. And this kind of got buried on Friday. We put out a story Friday afternoon, but there's a few other things going on involving signs and stolen and coaches and suspensions. But the CFP commissioners on Thursday officially voted and recommended to the board of presidents, who then have to approve it, so it's not approved yet, a change in the format to go from 6-in-6 format in the expanded playoff, which is 6 automatic qualifiers for conference champions, and then 6 at large, so to 5 automatic qualifiers for conference champions and 7 at large. So you got an extra at large. So there's going to be an extra at large spot, which makes, again, when you think about that Missouri-Tennessee game, even that much more important. But yeah, that was a big change. And again, it's not official yet. And also CFP commissioners, which we've talked about this issue on the show quite a bit, so I want to get this in there, is that they ruled that a league is required to have 8 members in order to get an automatic in order for a league's champion to get an automatic qualifier, they have to have at least 8 members, which obviously rules ineligible any Pac-2 champion over at Oregon State and Washington
Can't
State.
catch a break, man.
Yeah, I know. And that ruling
that was really never going to work. I mean, good try.
Yeah. That policy
We're
change,
keeping the name of the league just because we might get a bird.
It kind of opened the door to change the format, and so we'll probably over the coming weeks, the presidents will meet, and I would assume, unless, because it has to be unanimous on the presidential side, for this format change to take effect. So you could have a certain president, Kirk Schulz of Washington State, hold it up. I don't think he will. If the CFP gives Washington State and Oregon State its individual Power 5 CFP cut of distribution, I think that will happen. So it's kind of a compromise there. It's all about the money. They want their cut for the next 2 years that they were in line to get as a school. And if they get it, I don't think they'll stand in the way of a format change, but they could. It has to be unanimous of the 11, so they could.
Pac-2 dream dies. All right. Tremendous controversy here. This is a story we love. Auburn beat Arkansas, was it 48-10 or something like that? Crushed them. Halftime of the game, it was 27-3 Auburn. Arkansas retreats to the locker room. Apparently they have this is where the reporting gets deep. I will go to hogsbeat.com, the rival site. They're doing a good job on this. There's another breakdown on all hogs. Video emerged in one of the locker rooms. There may be a red shirt locker room, so these guys may not even actually be in the game.
God.
Video emerged on a TV playing in the background showing the Christmas classic with Tom Hanks, Polar Express.
Love that movie. Great.
Yes, I mean, pretty good holiday movie. The animated classic Polar Express was playing inside the Arkansas locker room. All hogs figured out that indeed, I mean, this is some solid reporting here.
What do you expect from? I mean, it's all hogs.
It is
Dan,
all hogs.
Of course, it's solid reporting.
At 4 p.m. on TBS, Polar Express was playing, and they synced up. They synced. They synced up.
This is amazing.
The Polar Express and the time. They figured out the time, so it did match. And then later, I think Arkansas admitted it.
Who's the reporter? This guy needs a Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm. All hogs.
Kent Smith. Kent Smith appears really did a good job on this. Absolutely, yes, he's our hero. There's more. Like I said, a lot of blanket reporting. Good job, Arkansas media. Excellent work, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is reporting all this stuff. Polar Express Gate. So, some of the fans are outraged. They believe that the TBS playing in the locker room suggests a lack of concern that they're getting their hogs kicked by Auburn. What I want to know, is there a Christmas classic that should be playing? Like, would you be like, if it was a different one, would you be okay with it?
I think if you play Elf, you're always okay with me. So, speaking to get Will Ferrell in this thing twice in today's podcast.
That is true. Yes. Like, you're down on your luck. You're feeling bad. You're getting killed. A little Elf. That's an underdog tale, too.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He never stopped believing.
He never stopped believing.
He kept the spirit, by golly.
Took on the big city.
Well, every Christmas I have a routine of watching Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. So, by the way, Chevy Chase at Tiger Stadium for LSU's win over Florida. By the way, he was there. Really? Just random note. There you go. Huh. Clark, are you serious, Clark?
What about the abject violence of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York?
Ooh,
or 1.
With Donald Trump's in that too.
Donald Trump's in it. There's a lot.
Cameo.
I mean, that one guy, Marv, takes the biggest beating of all time. Marv gets hit by bricks. He gets hit by paint cans. His hair burns. Joe Pesci gets it too, but Marv.
Yeah, he got the Wile E. Coyote treatment.
Yeah, if Marv can fight through. I mean, he ends up getting arrested, but I don't know. I mean, I just absolutely love it. Polar Express. Can't wait for more details on this. The Polar Express Gate in Arkansas.
Yes. We pointed out before that we started taping the pod that not the first time that there have been focus issues for the Hogs with under Chad Morris when he suspended or benched players because they were chatting up the Mississippi State dance team before their game.
That's right. Yeah,
What?
they were trying
years ago.
Oh yeah, a few years ago he
Oh,
caught them pregame talking to the young ladies on the Mississippi State dance team, and didn't believe their focus was properly on the game.
Hogs talking to lady dogs.
That's right.
It was a big scandal. We took the side of the guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, what the hell is the point
Naturally.
of playing SEC football if it doesn't let you get the chance to talk to the other team's dance? They were infiltrating. They were trying to work. I mean, come on, man. Let love have a chance.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. what you doing after the game, girl? You know, I can see that.
Exactly. Right.
I saw no problem. You're going to play hard? Or you trying to impress her?
Exactly.
Here's
my number. I'll meet you in Memphis sometime.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, maybe they just were talking about their classes and stuff. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway. All right. Couple other games. It was like almost pandemonium day.
Yes.
But then it wasn't. Washington held on. I don't know.
Survival Saturday.
Survival Saturday. Anything else you take from this thing before we start getting into
Florida State held on. That was in doubt. Miami. I kind of thought Miami would circle the wagons and show up for that game. They changed starting quarterbacks. Texas again.
Yeah.
And that's where the way Texas is playing and the way Alabama's playing, you wonder if the committee's going to throw out that head-to-head or if that's still going to be a deciding factor between those two. That's a key question, I think, for them to figure out is, I mean, there's no doubt Alabama's playing better now, but can you put them ahead of a team that beat them by 10 points on their home turf?
Yeah.
They're going to try. SEC. I don't know. If you go out and beat Georgia, I don't think you can do that.
Probably not, but I mean, it's going to be an increasing debate. And, I mean, if this all comes down, like, let's say Alabama beats Georgia, they're both 12-1. Texas is 12-1. Who goes ahead of whom out of that little love triangle?
Yeah.
There's only 3 weeks left. So like the chances of all undefeateds is there. It's, usually everyone freaks out about that in like October, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
This is a good stat from Brandon Marcello over at 24/7 Sports. This is the first year since 1973 that 5 Power 5 programs have 10 wins, at least 10 wins in our undefeated.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. So, we got Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington. 1973, you had Alabama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State. We're all at least had 10 wins and we're undefeated. So we're heading toward, potential real difficult decision for the committee.
Yeah. Or 4 undefeateds. And
right. Or not
easy.
A very difficult decision at all.
Yeah. So it's definitely a heavyweight. Like, imagine if we were still in the BCS, people would be losing their marbles.
Oh my goodness.
That's sort of it. But this is cruising along.
But it's going to happen. We're going to have some losses here. Yeah. I mean, like Washington, specifically Washington in Florida State, right, have gotten very close to stumbling this year. And they just don't look as dominant. Like one of those teams, if not both, I think it's probably higher likelihood of Washington just because the schedule probably they play. But and then of course Michigan and Ohio State, somebody there's gonna lose because I think they play a game.
They do. I mean, yes, Ohio State, Michigan, somebody definitely losing. Alabama, Georgia are going to play. Somebody's going to lose there. But like if Washington, they've got the third of 3 straight slobber knocker games at USC, Utah, at Oregon State on Saturday. If they get through that, I will be very impressed. And then they'd have the Apple Cup, maybe the last Apple Cup, and then probably a rematch with Oregon. It's a hell of a schedule they played, really.
Who are we leaving out right now? If the committee met today, you have the 5 undefeated. Who's
it's either Washington or Ohio. Or I'm sorry, Washington or Florida State. I would say, but I don't know which one.
Yeah, Florida State's resume continues to get worse because of the teams that they have beaten continue to lose.
Yeah, Clemson, that win-loss loss.
So
Clemson, LSU, I mean, they continue to lose.
Michigan's only victory is against Penn State.
Yeah, Michigan's strength of schedule is probably the worst of the 5 for sure. It's like the 80th.
This would be a nightmare. Yeah. Fortunately, I mean, they're going to do that because they like wasting each other's time and they have a TV show. But like it's, oh my goodness, that would be terrible. All right, look, we've made a lot of fun of Iowa this year, and why not? Well, look who's 8-2.
Yeah.
And if we're going to make fun of Iowa, then we should really make fun of Rutgers, which lost 22-0 to Iowa. A fourth quarter explosion. It was 6-0 going into the fourth. 16 points. Hawkeyes, just keep going.
It's incredible. It really is. Like half a team is going to win the Big Ten West. You know, they are the most lopsided team in history, but they're going to win the West at this point. You know, they've got a 2-game lead with 2 games to play, and they're playing Nebraska, who stinks, and they are playing, who's their other game against? Illinois, who's up and down, and Illinois can score. They might be able to score a little bit in that game, but I fully anticipate we will see team lopsided in Indy playing either Michigan or Ohio State.
Yeah, do it up. All right. We like to hand out our Heismans every week. We don't want to wait to the end. So let's pick some Heisman trophies to hand out this week. Anyone got one?
Yeah.
Go for it.
This guy had his team had a better defense, probably would win the Heisman. Jayden Daniels of LSU had one of the most incredible performances for any player in a single game in college football history on Saturday. I think he became the first player to pass for 350 yards in rush for 200 yards. I think is the stat, something like that. First player in the history.
350, run for 200.
Yep. And 5 touchdowns, 3 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touches. He had an 85-yard touchdown run. He had passes of 52, 44, 45. Just incredible performance. And again, if you go back, it feels like 2 teams in the country this year have really kind of wasted a really good quarterback because their defense just can't get it done. And that's LSU and North Carolina with Drake May and Jayden Daniels. North Carolina barely pulled out a win in double overtime over Duke. Their defense just collapsed in the end, and they barely survived. But Jayden Daniels might and should probably make the trip to New York for at least the ceremony. I don't know if he's going to win because LSU, might be 9-3 or 8-4, but he just had a phenomenal game.
I think he absolutely can still win the race.
Me too.
At 9-3, I mean, he is having statistically the best season of any quarterback by a large margin. Really, he is number 1 in pass efficiency rating by 15 points. He is number 1 in total offense by 58 yards. I mean, he's dominant. And Lamar Jackson won with 3 losses. Robert Griffin won with 3 losses. Tebow, I think, won with 4. So it can be done. Right now, I don't know whether anybody can beat him. Anyway, my small sample Heisman, I mentioned him briefly, but I'm going with Cody Schrader, former Division II running back who absolutely destroyed Tennessee on Saturday. He had 205 yards rushing. He had 116 yards receiving. He ran through people. He ran around them. He caught passes. I mean, he did everything. He was phenomenal, and he's really kind of elevated the Missouri offense, which needed kind of a centerpiece, a go-to back, and he walked on at Missouri out of Truman State and played last year, and he was good last year, had 744 yards, but this year He's taken over the position, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 100-yard games, and of course the 200-yarder. So Cody Schrader, small sample Heisman.
All right, I'm going to give 2 out. This is from Nick Bromberg and Sam Cooper, who do our great winners and losers column every week at Yahoo Sports, which you guys should check out because it's a great just a fun little thing. And they noted John Matocha, Colorado School of Mines.
Oh, there we go.
3 touchdowns, ran for another to help them clinch the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. He is now the all-time. He scored more touchdowns than anyone in the history of NCAA football. 181. Wow.
Dang.
155 passing, 25 running, 1 receiving. So credit to that. That's pretty crazy. But I'll tell you who is gaining on him, and I'll give it to Oklahoma quarterback Dillon Gabriel. Incredible on Saturday. Oklahoma beat West Virginia 59-20. Dillon Gabriel, 423 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. And then he had 11 carries for 50 yards and 3 touchdowns running. 8 TDs for Dillon Gabriel. That'll do it.
Not bad.
Not bad to get the Sooners off the mat. You need your star to bring you back. There it is. Good job, Dillon Gabriel. Get my small sample Heisman. All right, we've said plenty of mean, snarky things on here as our way because we're not good people. Can we say something nice or passively aggressively nice? Pat.
Oh, I'm here to be passive aggressive.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I would like to congratulate Oklahoma State on showing us the extent of the biggest hangover in history. Like the kind of hangover where it's something you wake up in jail and you don't know how you ended up in jail. That is Oklahoma State. They had the party to end all parties, the bedlam to end all bedlams. The last bedlam, they beat Oklahoma 27-24. One of the biggest wins in school history. And so what do they do the next week? They show up to play Central Florida in Orlando and absolutely get smoked. 45-3. It was never close. They were never in it. It was 24-0 in no time. They totally just cashed it in after beating Oklahoma. They were done. So I am impressed with the level of celebration that had to have gone on in Stillwater for the Cowboys after the Bedlam game, because I'm not sure they're going to win another game the way they played that one. So,
we've talked a little bit about Arizona on the show before, and Jed Fish is in his 3rd season there, and the Wildcats are 7-3. They haven't won 7 games since 2017. They're on pace to certainly win more than that, which would be the most wins in 10 years at the program. They have won 6 games the last 3 years, has Arizona. I think he took over a team, Jed Fish did, that had won like once in like 20 games. They were on like some ungodly skid, and they are 7-3 now. They knocked off Colorado with a last-minute field goal, by the way, to go from saying something nice to saying something bad. Colorado has lost 6 straight and is 4-6 and almost certainly not going to make a bowl game. So the D1 train has slowed considerably. But back to Jed Fish and saying something nice. Heck of a job there going on in Arizona. Good to see the Wildcats having success again, and they've got a chance. They got a chance to get to 9-3, which would be pretty incredible.
I am going to say something nice about UNLV, which I've said a little bit before, but let me read you the last 20 seasons, I guess, of their win totals. 2, 2, 2, 2, 5, 5, 2, 2, 2, 7 at a 7-6 year, 2013. 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 4, 0, 2, 5. Not good. Not
Seems bad. Seems bad.
Yeah. They are 8-2 under Barry Odom in his first year in Las Vegas. This is out of nowhere. Literally nowhere. There is no reason on earth anyone should have ever expected anything out of UNLV football, especially in the first year. They haven't been good they're never good.
Yeah, they've never been good.
Randall Cunningham, like previously their best season might be 8-5, a John Robinson team. They won the Vegas Bowl. They were 11-2 in 1984.
Nobody remembers that.
And then they got caught cheating, and it's officially 0-13. They're 1 year. Anyway, they beat up on a decent Wyoming team Friday night. They got a nice crowd there at Allegiant Stadium. They are 5-1 in the Mountain West. They have got a real chance to get to the championship game, perhaps against Air Force, where the game will be played in Las Vegas, I think, or maybe it's the home. What do they do with them? Maybe I don't know that.
No, I don't
where
know.
is the Mountain West?
It has been at home sites in the past.
Well, whatever. It's literally out of nowhere. It's got to be one of the best coaching jobs you can find. Obviously, the transfer portal helps. You can change things really quickly, but this is a team that has done nothing for decades and had no earthly reason to be 8-2 and maybe heading to 10-2, and they're doing it as a very good football team. One of those losses is at Michigan. I don't know what the other one was, but it's like this is a solid Mountain West team. So congratulations to UNLV, Barry Odom, and everybody out there for actually making UNLV football not just respectable but pretty fun for the first time ever. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, let me squeeze in one more small sample Heisman real quick since you did too. I feel compelled. John Paddock, quarterback, Illinois, grad transfer from Ball State, played a bunch last year, came in, was sat down, didn't play. He was the backup to John Altmaier. Got in at the end of the game last week against Minnesota, threw the game-winning touchdown, a bomb for a touchdown, gets the start this week, first start for a Big Ten school, 507 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and they beat Indiana. Now they've got a chance to go to a bowl game. So, John Paddock.
Awesome. All right. Look at that. See how nice we are? We're handing out extra awards.
So nice.
It's the holiday experience. I'm going to go watch Polar Express.
Cue it up.
Not. If I'm going Elf or Christmas Vacation. Absolutely. Anyway, that's our show. Continue to subscribe, share us on social media, leave nice reviews, tell your friends about us. And season is cooking. It's going to be a hell of a finish. We'll be back Tuesday. Talk to you later.